Coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles now, some fascinating insight into the Philadelphia Eagles' decision to move up to number 9 in the 2023 NFL Draft and take Jalen Carter. Tim McManus of ESPN, who's the beat reporter covering Philadelphia on a daily basis, put together this piece, and there really is some interesting tidbits in that. We're going to look at that and break it down. First, though, Eagles now going live on this fine Tuesday. Make sure you join us later on today at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific for those of you watching on the West Coast. And we're going to continue to grow this channel as we always do. Can we get to 50,000 subscribers before game day as Philadelphia opens up the 2023 campaign against New England Patriots? We're going to be doing a watch party for that game. And can we celebrate 50,000 subscribers during that watch party? Yesterday, we picked up almost 200 new subscribers. We're 230 people away from reaching that milestone. If you're looking for year-round and daily updates on the birds, I have you covered. Lock us in and hit that subscribe button. Before we talk Jalen Carter, we are so stoked here at Chat Sports and on Philadelphia Eagles now to bring on Game Time as a brand new sponsor. If you're looking for last-minute tickets to sporting events, comedy shows, concerts, the only app that you should be using is Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events should not be stressful. It should be a very enjoyable experience, and Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all of the sports, music, comedy, and theater events all by you. And if you use the code EaglesChat, you can get $20 off your purchase. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you'll have. What I love about this app, how easy it is to use, and the interface is absolutely awesome as we're showing you here. There are seat maps. You can also get photos from the seats that you will be sitting in if you're to buy tickets to some of these events. And it's all very easy to use. I was just in Charlotte this weekend for North Carolina, South Carolina. Really wanted to see Drake May take on Spencer Rattler. Me and the crew here at Chat Sports found affordable tickets fast and last minute. Flash deals, last minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. And if you're looking for some Philadelphia Eagles tickets this season, you can find any game, home at Lincoln Financial Field or at some of the away stadiums. And it's all listed with this next photo that you're going to show you with the price points on there. And as I said, a very interactive app where you can have a bird's eye view of, for instance, Lincoln Financial Field for this Week 2 game against the Minnesota Vikings. And you can go on the app and pick where exactly you want to sit. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code EaglesChat for $20 off your first purchase. That's $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code EaglesChat for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price guaranteed. We're going to put that link and that promo code in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. So we start off talking about Jalen Carter here and Tim McManus' article into the Eagles' decision to draft Jalen Carter at number 9 overall. And for those of you, the real ones out there who watch the program, what I said leading up to the NFL draft was this. I predicted that Jalen Carter was the crown jewel, the apple to Howie Roseman's eye, and I said that Philadelphia was a perfect place for Jalen Carter to go to coming out of Georgia, and why I thought the Eagles were the perfect spot for Carter. They had captains in place. They had leaders in place. They had a winning culture coming off a Super Bowl season. They had Pro Bowlers littered across that roster, a bunch of All-Pros, future Hall of Famers, a winning environment, and some fellow Georgia teammates that Carter had familiarity with to make him comfortable. And all of those factors could allow Jalen Carter, if he came to Philadelphia, if the Eagles drafted him, to stay in line and maximize a fantastic opportunity for himself to make the most out of what is a once-in-a-lifetime type of opportunity. And this great environment for Jalen Carter has reaped its early benefits and dividends so far without him even making his NFL debut up to this point, because he's off to a terrific start. And I thought that him having the opportunity to learn from Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham in that defensive line room, those are two Eagles legends. Jalen Carter sees that and he's like, my gosh, this Eagles organization as a whole, going back to Reggie White, Jerome Brown, Hugh Douglas, RIP to his son, by the way, and then some of these newer age players like Cox, like Graham, you look at that, and that's the example that is set for Jalen Carter to live up to the expectations and to become a dominant player. The same dominant player that draft experts thought that he could be coming out of Georgia. He slipped down draft boards because of things that happened in the pre-draft process. So we're going to look at this Tim McManus article, break it down kind of tidbit by tidbit here. And I want to start off with this. The Eagles' decision, McManus said, to greenlight the selection of Georgia defensive end Jalen Carter in the 2023 draft came down to one final meeting between owner Jeffrey Lurie, his son Julian, general manager Howie Roseman, and coach Nick Sirianni on the eve of the first round. The organization had been scouting Carter, a gifted game disruptor, for the past 2 years and conducted a deep dive into his background during the pre-draft process, led by advisor to the general manager and chief security officer Dom DiSandro. He's the one who's always by Nick Sirianni, by the way. Based on performance, Carter was the highest rated player on the Philadelphia Eagles draft board. And the consensus going into the draft was that Carter was the best defender among all defenders in the 2023 class. If the Chicago Bears would have stayed at number one, and if Jalen Carter did not get in trouble, I thought that he was going to go number one to Chicago. But as soon as everything started to trickle out from the crash and some of the character concerns that people had, and there was an opportunity for him to slide down draft boards, I had said here on the show, if he falls to Philadelphia, I don't think Howie Roseman is going to pass up on the player because he loves building his team in the trenches. More from McManus. Carter had been involved in a fatal January 15th crash in Athens, Georgia, following the Bulldogs championship parade. He ultimately pleaded no contest to misdemeanor charges of reckless driving and racing and was sentenced to 12 months of probation, a $1,000 fine, and 80 hours of community service. The vehicle Carter was alleged to be racing against crashed, resulting in the death of Georgia teammate Devin Willock and recruiting staffer Chandler LaCroix. Multiple Georgia coaches declined to go to bat for Carter during the pre-draft process, according to sources familiar with the conversations, in part because they had grown disenchanted with his practice habits and attitude. His behavior as a teammate came into question as well, notably after he struck then Georgia linebacker Quay Walker in the face during a fall practice in 2020. It was described by sources familiar with the pre-draft process as a knockout punch. Now, Quay Walker, who's now at the Green Bay Packers, did say later that he downplayed the altercation and that those types of things happen. But you have the crash, you have the knockout punch, you have bad practice habits and bad attitude. You have coaches in the pre-draft process who are not willing to go to bat for Jalen Carter. But a couple of players were. That did include Nakobe Dean, and it did include Jordan Davis, who played with Carter the year before at Georgia en route to their first of 2 consecutive national championships. But still, when you think about all that, it's clearly not a good look for Carter. So how did the Eagles get to a point where they were comfortable with drafting him? Let's get to it. With the 10th pick in the draft, the reigning NFC champions knew they had a shot to land the tackle, understanding he might fall because of off-field concerns, and Carter wanted Philadelphia. Say that again. Jalen Carter wanted Philadelphia. He was impressed with the Eagles during pre-draft meetings and wanted to reunite with former Georgia teammates Nakobe Dean as well as Jordan Davis. With uncertainty swirling about whether the Eagles were comfortable, Carter's camp got proactive. His agent, by the way, Drew Rosenhaus. Carter placed calls to multiple top-level Eagles executives on the doorstep of the draft process, including Howie Roseman, to assure them that they would get the best version of him and they would not regret taking a chance. And what has happened up to this point is that the Philadelphia Eagles took that chance and they are not regretting it. In training camp, OTAs, minicamp, the preseason, Carter has really impressed this team. And what makes him unique in my eyes is the athlete that he is, the body of work that he put forward at Georgia, and some of the special things that he can do on the football field. The power, quickness, size blend, the positional versatility along the defensive line. He has great bend for his build. He's already demanding double teams in the preseason as a rookie, and he has some really polished pass rush moves as well. And you talk about the versatility that Carter has along that defensive line. I can't wait to see how Sean Desai utilizes him in year one, but also week one against the New England Patriots. Get this guy on the field to see what he can bring to the table. At Georgia last year, lined up on the A-gap 30 snaps, over tackle 83, B-gap, traditional defensive tackle 255, and outside tackle. That's the speed that he has. Outside tackle on 20 snaps. More from McManus on Carter here. Those calls from Carter to the Eagles were the final pieces to a puzzle that the Eagles had spent months trying to put together. Roseman, Sirianni, and the Luries decided in that final meeting that they would take Carter depending on how the board fell, though they were not convinced he would drop into their range, a team source said. Some of the Eagles organization felt the 22-year-old could not only be a significant building block for the future, but also a generational talent. And Philadelphia believed it was uniquely equipped to help Carter stay on the right path. Thanks to the presence of veteran leaders and offensive lineman Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, defensive lineman Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, two of whom would be in the position room with him daily. They also believed he'd benefit from being reunited with Dean and Davis, who vouched for Carter during the lead up to the draft. Also another name to throw in there, Nolan Smith as well, who's also vouched for Jalen Carter. So when you look at that reporting from Tim McManus, these are literally the things that I was saying in the pre-draft process. When you have a great locker room culture, you can afford to take chances like this. Jalen Carter coming out of Georgia had some character concerns. He got into some legal situations that weren't a good look. He had to be taken away from the NFL scouting combine in Indianapolis to go to Georgia because there was a warrant out for his arrest. But when you scan this Eagles locker room and you have Jalen Hurts, Darius Slay, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelce, Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman, Jeffrey Lurie, and the leadership foundational pieces in place, you could take a chance on a player who might have some of those character concerns. But when they walk in that locker room for a team that won a Super Bowl back in 2017, that just made it to another Super Bowl, they understand that to maximize this opportunity of being drafted and being able to live out your dream of being an NFL player, that you have to kind of get in line, and there are examples to learn from, guys who you can talk to so that you can maximize your capabilities. And for Jalen Carter, he's really gone about it in a very professional way. And on the practice field, he's been turning heads ever since he put on that Eagles helmet and put on that Eagles jersey because of the special athlete that he is. So this is the importance of building up a good locker room culture so that you can afford to take chances like this. And sometimes when you're running a high-level business, these are the risks that you need to take. There might be an employee out there who is a little bit risky to hire, but if they can move the bottom line and they're a very innovative and creative thinker, sometimes you need that person in your business. At the NFL level, this guy might have a little bit of a background, but when you look at the bend, you look at the power, you look at the size, the explosiveness, his ability to demand double teams and defeat them, him being a generational talent, let's get him in this locker room, in this culture. Let's get our leadership and our leaders around him to mold him into a very solid player. And that's what the Eagles' thought process has been and is here with Jalen Carter. He simply, bottom line, was too good of a talent to pass up on. And the Philadelphia Eagles are seeing that already, and I think we might see it week one against the New England Patriots. So far, what we've heard about Carter from his teammates and what we've seen when he's been on the field in the preseason, Jason Kelce. You can feel his impact on that defensive line even when you don't have to block him. Darius Slay called him a baby rhino and also added, I've been around some great defensive tackles in my career. Haloti Ngata, Ndamukong Suh, Javon Hargrave, Fletcher Cox, Jordan Jalen Carter is the real deal. Lane Johnson calling him a breakout candidate for this season. That's coming from a guy in Lane who hasn't given up a sack since November of 2021 against the Browns. Dominated in those joint practices and against the Ravens in the preseason. First snap that he had almost took the head off of Josh Johnson. So if you're pumped up for Jalen Carter's debut, hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Wanted to pass along that article from Tim McManus and kind of give you some insight as to how the Eagles were thinking and what they were thinking going into the draft. So I hope you enjoyed that, and make sure you join us for our Tuesday live show. It all gets underway 5:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Pacific. Subscribe, turn on those notifications. Let's get to 50,000 subs, and we'll see you in a bit.